So we're back with part 2, number 4, or episode 14 of Nizi Project Season 2. And so this is just another week. Last week I was really tired when I was like watching the show and also commenting on it, so I apologize if anything got weird at that point because I don't even remember what I did, to be honest. But anyways, here we are for the second stage group performances. JYP, he split them up into 4 groups and then sent them off to uh, compete against each other. And so basically, there's Team Tomoya, Team Ken, Team Yuhi, and Team Yu. And he had them decide by kind of a random draw who they're going to go up against. And so basically, what you have is Tomoya's team versus So Ken's team. And then you have Yuhi versus Yu, which is, I think, is kind of interesting. Basically, what it comes down to with these teams is that I think that Tomoya's leadership makes the difference in the expected winner between Tomoya's team and Ken's team because they're kind of evenly ranked. You know, on one side you have Tomoya, Sean, and Taiga, right? And Taiga's being a little bit shaky, but behind the scenes he's actually really strong in terms of his knowledge as a trainee. Sean is probably more shaky, but he has the ability to do way better, and he has been doing way better than even Taiga. Whereas on Ken's team, you have Seita, who's been doing pretty well, but maybe not that strong skilled-wise. But then you have Sodai, who's very strong skilled-wise, but he's been shaky for some reason, which I don't understand. But fundamentally, I think it has to do with just he hasn't learned what it means to really express moves yet, and he's just really good technically. And so I don't know if Ken and Seita can help him with that. Most likely they're going to lean on Sodai, so I don't know how Sodai is going to overcome that. I think as leader, he has a lot to prove here. But like I said, because of leadership, Tomoya is probably going to win out in the end. Now then, on the other team, you have Muraku, Yuki, and Yuhi in the first team. And then you have the second team, you have Yu, Eiji, and Haru. And when it comes down to what I think about this is that this team with... not this one. So with Eiji's team, or Yu's team, they're probably going to overcome the other team. This is what I thought when I first saw them. And when it came to the other team, I felt like Yuhi's team is kind of the underdog group, especially considering how Muraku, he's missing a cube here. And so all the other team members on Yu's team have cubes. And I just feel like Haru, Eiji, and Yu can, if they just choose a leader, which I think is going to be Haru, they can overcome any team issues. And so those are my initial thoughts. And basically, I don't think that's going to be a real problem because we've already seen Yu and Haru working together as a team, and they really impressed us before. I think they were already the tops, and so they're just expected to be the tops again. I don't think Eiji's going to throw a wrench into that. As for Yuhi and Yuki and Muraku's the only one who's like the weak point there, but he was pretty like he was a very good performer up until the point when he did perform well, and it was just his maturity showing. But working together, they can overcome it. But basically, JYP tells the teams here, just guys trust in each other and rely on each other, and that basically is that's a good reason for them to overcome any weaknesses they might have, because other than that, the teams actually seem pretty well balanced. And so we get to the first team between Yu and Yuhi's team. When asked, Yuki says that Yu's team will probably focus on strong performance, and how they will overcome it is they'll show a different energy, which is cute, youthful, and I guess that kind of concept. Whereas Yu says they plan on showing their sexiness, and he also kind of said they have the upper hand in that regard, which I thought was like a funny burn. I don't know if it was intentional, but it was kind of really like, you look at the other guy's expressions and they just don't have a comeback for that, because it's sort of like saying like, you guys aren't as sexy as us, right? And so I thought that was hilarious. But anyways, in terms of the first team, they're called the youngsters, and it's because I guess they're all in the first year of high school, and they are already dormed together. And so what's interesting is that this team, because they share a dorm, they already have a strong basis here for teamwork, right? And so that they're going to get along, and they just have to work together and keep their spirits up. Now in training, the vocal trainers was basically throwing them off tilt, and it was just kind of like they're getting wrangled around, and I don't really know why the trainer's being like that, but I guess she wants to shock them in case they don't have a good attention span. And then the dancer basically said something similar. He's saying that because they're focusing too much on vocals, they couldn't do expressions correctly, and so there's a concern there. And basically, all they had to do is just uh, work on their positions, and then like working as a team, they have to like kind of overcome this challenge together by just keeping each other in check and working on their high notes. And a lot of things were like they were doing these like exercises to determine how to keep their voices in the high notes without cracking or anything like that. And so I kind of like this team for their camaraderie. Actually, seeing them work together, it kind of warmed my heart a bit. And so I was kind of like, I was thinking, I kind of like these guys. So even if they don't beat the other team, I don't think they're going to be lacking in any way. And they weren't in the end. So they got to their performance. And so for me, I felt like they had a really good starting vibe. Expressions and vocals were good throughout the whole thing, which was surprising given, all these guys are going through puberty, and I kind of expected them to crack a little bit more. But they were doing pretty good. And then Yuhi was, in my opinion, dancing the best. Later on, that would not just be my opinion, but that's what JYP would say too. Yuki, I noticed that he got slightly distracted near the end, and I don't know why. Like he was looking off to the side, like he fell out of his performance mode, and I don't know what he was looking at, but maybe he got self-conscious about something. And then, other than that, throughout the whole performance, Maraku kind of had softer movements, and he was losing breath as well near the end. But overall, I actually thought it was really good. Like those are not real knocks; they're kind of just things you notice. And I guess if they're distracting enough, they can be a bad part of performance. But in terms of JYP's feedback, he basically had this long silence, and it made everyone nervous. But he said that they managed to be in sync while showing each trainee's individual character, and so they got praised for their dancing and singing. And so it wasn't going to be negative, despite the pause. But he basically says that when it comes to, I think, Maraku, he said that Maraku seemed most comfortable today, but he still can't use his joints as well as other members. And so that was interesting. Yuki, he was saying that his dancing was fast and light, but still lacking with transitioning to different vibes and speeds. And then when it came to Yuhi, he said singing and dancing showed astonishing progress, and he was using his joints well, and the difference between him and the other members were evident. And so this is a pretty good praise, but it's also some strong criticisms about the guys individually. But he said that as a team, they did a really good job. And so after that, we get to the next guys. And so the next guys is the Rain Boys. So how the other team was called the Youngsters, the Macnays. These guys are the Rain Boys, and it's because they're doing Rain's It's Raining song. And so, JYP's version of that song still kind of makes me giggle when you look it up. JYP, he basically put these guys together because he knew they were strong in power. And behind the scenes, these guys are kind of funny as well. Like I saw them here making weird voices and talking to each other, and I don't know. It was entertaining for me. And also, it turns out you can cook, and so he cooked for all of them. Hold on, I think I have a bingo card for this. Trainee cooking talent. So yeah. So he's able to cook, and then they get to actual practice, and the vocal trainer says they need to make it more powerful by taming their power levels. And so before, I guess they were just kind of doing really stiff and strong movements, but what the trainer's basically saying is they need to kind of toy with the song in a suave way, right? Kind of like make love to the song in a certain way. Like certain points in songs do not call for power, right? And so, and this is just in their vocals, by the way. And then it gets to the dance trainer, and the dance trainer is saying he's concerned with them losing energy in their second verse, and how they also need to focus on precise details. Now you notice this movement here that the trainer does with them, and he says, and he uses it as an example about like where they're lacking with regards to the strength. And I want you to take note of that, because I know this move because I know this performance. Like I watched JYP do it, I've seen Rain do it, and so I just know this thing. And so he does this move there, and just remember that, because you'll see later that they actually modify the move, I think. And it's not as strong as they should have done it, but you can totally tell that I think that they were struggling, even after practice. And so the main thing for these guys is that they continued to practice, and mainly they just had to work on transitioning into different states and moods. And that's how they broke up the song in order to work on the movements. And they worked on everything being in sync, including their breathing. And so that's impressive enough, I think. You get to the performance, and I think it was a really good start. Although at the very beginning, you can see Yu's footwork was kind of staggered in the beginning here. Just slightly, just very slightly. Nothing, not a big deal. Maybe his rubber soles was just hitting the floors a bit. But other than that, you can notice right away Haru has really good expressions. When Yu starts singing, his voice is really strong and really good. Like it's just the sound of Yu's voice. I've always said this, by the way, that Yu just has the best sounding voice, and it will add a lot of character to the group, which is why you really can't afford to lose him from the group. Now, AG and Haru also have clear voices, and it's mostly good. But at some point, you see them getting to this part, and it seems like the moves aren't hitting as strong. Like they weren't swinging as strong as they need to, and I feel like they modified it a little bit. They made it so it required less energy, and even later in the second half of the song, until they started doing break dancing, it kind of felt like they were losing steam, and so in my opinion, I thought they were getting winded, and they were just, I guess the moves were getting taxing on them. But it's still impressive because, like, overall, they're still reaching a higher point than what the other group was doing. The other group did a good job, but these guys, they're reaching higher, and they're, like, using way more energy and just doing way more. And so if they make a few mistakes along the way, which are probably not as bad as the other teams, considering how good their vocals and dance moves are, despite being a little bit tired, they still reached higher because of like the overall of what they did and how well it is in sync and everything. Now JYP's opinion is that these guys gave an astonishing performance, and they seemed like a single person in their moves. Their timing was in sync, and especially during the breaking part, they were like JYP notified us of that part, and the show actually gave an edit to like show us that part again. And so JYP, he was basically just guessing that their teamwork came out of a lot of practice, and he praised them all, said Yu's first place ranking wasn't just luck. He said that in terms of AG, he was like a sports car, and he proved today he can be controlled with his power and energy. And JYP said the first time he saw him change his pace in such a way. And then he came to Haru, and he said Haru was the best. And he said he was the most impressive member, and that he was his feeling, expression, and accuracy were, and intensity, and speed, and power were all excellent. Now I don't agree with that, by the way, because I don't have this written here, but I did notice during their performance that there were parts where even though they were moving in sync, Haru's movements were a little bit different than the other guys, and there were times when it was like really different. And so I don't agree with what he just said there in terms of being completely accurate and in time with everyone else. He was slightly different. But other than that, this was the whole episode, and it went by really fast. Like, it did not feel like a long episode at all, and it was entertaining. But when you get to the winners, deciding the winners, it seems like there was no equivalent praise for the first group as there was for the second group. And I can just guess from that point, like, based on the feedback, he didn't give any negatives, really, to the second group. And so just based on that, and just Group B just being visibly more impressive from what they tried to do, and JYP, he basically just gave the win to them. And he just said that in terms of Group A, they just had bad luck with their opponent is all. And I guess if you were to take that feedback in earnest, then what that would say to me is that you can still expect him to get gems. But he did give negative feedback to Yuki and Miraku. And so I would say that, I don't know, it's still up in the air. And then that's it. There was a cliffhanger ending. Because I just did not see the episode go by so quickly. And so let's just check that off here. The bingo card. Was there anything else here? Good performance is bad. Would this count for this one? Because they performed well, but it's still considered bad because they didn't win? Or is I can't even remember what I put this down for. Or is the performance that is rated as good is actually bad? I don't remember why I put this one here, but I'll just leave it off. But yeah, that is where we leave off. Let's look at the roster. So this is currently we have Haru, AG, and Yu in the lead with 3 cubes. And I think that when I look at this, all is kind of well in the world. Because you can tell that, well, no, all is not well. Because Sudai is missing a cube because of what happened in his individual. And I feel like Sudai is good enough that you can kind of forgive him for having issues expressing stuff. But then again, that might be a double standard. Because the truth is, on A2K, I never gave Gina a pass for not expressing things well. And so I feel like, yeah, there is, maybe I'm giving a double standard, but I saw Sudai do really good performances, right? Whereas compared to Gina, I did not see her good performances. But Sudai, I'm kind of surprised that he suddenly has this arc where he's struggling. And so I guess I never noticed, and he just did a good job imitating before. And so maybe he does deserve to not have a cube. So this is where we leave off. And so that's it. This was a good episode. Look forward to next week when we get to see, I think, 2 more performances. It looked like a lot of this episode, like, they didn't get to perform until about, I think it was it 10, it's about 10 minutes in, about 8 to 10 minutes in. And so the next episode is probably the same length. I don't know what they're going to fill with 8 minutes at the end, but my guess is the end is just stuff to build up for the next final performances, the 3rd performance, I think. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, did I ramble on too much? I don't even remember. Then give it a thumbs down, though. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next